Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The question is asking here, does Kitab at-Tawheed of Shaykh Muhammad ibn Wahhab have weak Ahadeeth in them? And the answer to this question is quite frankly yes. Many weak Ahadeeth have been reported by the Shaykh in the book, and some of the ulama have even made takhrij of Kitab at-Tawheed, and some of them have even made a standalone book where they have pointed out the Ahadeeth which are weak. And there are many, from the beginning to the end. But even greater than that, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Rajab, Ibn al-Jawzi, even though Ibn al-Jawzi was mutashaddid, he was known as the ones who were very strict in classifying hadith. All of these ulama have weaker hadith in their works. So now it seems pretty confusing. How do we understand this? I remember our Sheikh Abdul Karim Qudair, Allah preserve him, who is a senior muhaddith of the time that we live in today. In actual fact, his PhD research was on hadith and classification of weak hadith, and then he's got works on Hafiz al-Iraqi and things like that when it comes to the ilm of hadith. I remember he was asked this question once on Nur al-Darb when I was in Saudi Arabia, and he answered in a really nice way, and I'll try and summarize. He said, Shaykh Muhammad in Kitab at-Tawheed has narrated to us and reported to us weak ahadith, and this is for one of three ways of looking at it, or one of three reasons I was going to say, but one of three ways that we can look at it. Number one, we have to understand that the classification of hadith is an issue of ijtihad. Shaykh al-Albani might class it as da'if, Ibn Baz might class it as sahih, Ibn Uthaymeen might class it as hasan, Ibn al-Qayyim might class it as... Therefore, we have to understand that the Shaykh might narrate or report to us ahadith which we think are weak, but in his view might not be weak. Number one. Number two, some narrations are weak in their chain, but they are sahih in their ma'na. And this is well known for a person who studies the usul and the sciences when it comes to the mustalah al-hadith. Something could be da'if in its sanad, but sahih in its diraya. And in plain English, what this basically means is that the chain of narration might be weak, but the meaning of the hadith might be sahih, and it is for the sheikh or the scholar to make that ijtihad and say, okay, well, I'll narrate this hadith. I'll use it as evidence because of the meaning which is found within it, not necessarily the chain. The third reason, now this is very important, this is extremely important. The use of weak ahadith by the scholars that we have mentioned and others is because that these weak ahadith have already been established in something else by what is sahih, and they are the foundation of the point that the Shaykh is making. In other words, let me say it a bit better. I think I overcomplicated that sentence. Which is, you might have a hadith which is weak, and the Shaykh might want to use that hadith as proof of something, but it is weak. However, the meaning that is found in that hadith is already established in something else which is sahih anyway. So hopefully now this makes sense to us, that now you will find many of the ulama, in fact, if you open up Ibn Kathir in his tafsir, weak hadith after weak hadith that he's using in his tafsir. And the list goes on. I mean, there's no point in mentioning examples right now. There are so many examples of use of weak ahadith by the ulama. But then the question is, if the hadith is weak and we are not allowed to narrate weak hadith, how is it that these scholars have done such? This is because of one of these three reasons. Either they don't see it as weak, but others do, and their ijtihad differs. Or it could be that the meaning is sound according to them, or they are using it to support something which already has a foundation through something which is sahih in the religion anyway. And with this then we can understand why in Kitab at-Tawheed there will be narrations which could be classified as weak by some ulama. There's another thing that he was actually asked. I remember our Shaykh Abdul Karim Qudair, he was asked, why does Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab have the title of Shaykh al-Islam or Mujaddid, when quite frankly, when it comes to his works, and we're being honest here, this is not any form of disrespect towards Shaykh Muhammad at all whatsoever, but he was not on the level of other ulama who got the same title as Mujaddid or Shaykh al-Islam. And in answering, I remember Shaykh Abdul Karim al-Khudair, Allah preserve him saying that it is true, he wasn't Shaykh al-Islam in hadith, he wasn't Shaykh al-Islam in other sciences, but what he was very good at, which was Aqidah and Fiqh, Tafsir, this was sufficient for him to become Shaykh al-Islam because he revived the religion. And in this answer we can also now understand, and this is by no means us disrespecting him, and this is not actually even connected to the point really, because I'm not saying that because he wasn't strong in Hadith, this is why they are weak at Hadith in Kitab at-Tawheed. I'm not mentioning that, that's not my point. But I am saying that it could be possible, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, that you got a scholar and his speciality is not Hadith, as Shaykh Abdul Karim al-Qudair has said here. His speciality wasn't Hadith. He became a mujaddid because of his Aqidah and reviving the manhaj and reviving the Salafiyya and removing taqleed and removing shirk and bringing people back to correct fiqh and understanding, etc. And this is what made him Shaykh al-Islam. This is what made him a mujaddid. And this was sufficient for him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accepted it from him, inshallah, and has placed a great deal of barakah. So this is also very important, that a person might be on a high level of, caliber of ilm, and he is, respected by the people, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he was an expert in all fields. Very important for us to understand that also. Hopefully this has gone in some way in explaining the mas'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he gives us firm knowledge of his religion and the best of attitudes to our ulama, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitates for us learning. These kind of questions really shouldn't really be asked over WhatsApp, in my opinion. These kind of questions should be when you are studying Kitab at-Tawheed. The fact that people are asking these kind of questions clearly shows to us that people aren't studying enough, or they are not studying well enough, perhaps. Allah knows best. It's just an observation for me. If a person was seeking ilm and studying Kitab at-Tawheed is a book that every single Muslim needs to learn. I would say it's fard al-ain to learn Tawheed. Therefore, if a person has these kind of masail come up in his durus, then he will know the masail when it comes to Tawheed. But this is a worrying sign in the sense that people are asking questions which indicate the fact that they are not studying these books that they should be studying. Wallahu musta'an. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina.